Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And I'm back with part 3 of What If Naruto Was Born 1 in a Trillion. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to stay in tune for the rest of what is coming your way. Yes, that's correct. I indeed have 3 channels which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be placed in the description, so go ahead and check out Anime King 3, and Anime Symbol, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see when I post. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now, guys. So the last part that we left off, Naruto was questioning why Harrison was asking him these questions. Being too smart to be taking advantage of, Naruto quickly surmised that the man wanted to know his standings now. Naruto had gotten so immensely smart that one would think that he didn't have the compassion that most people should have. However, Naruto told him that he was wrong in every single regard. He was perfectly fine and he could differentiate between friends and foes. When the day came, Naruto was placed on Team 7. However, Naruto knew that this was not... well, it did not make much sense. His skills far dwarfed anything that would seen as a balanced team. It made no sense at all. Naruto decided to use his most powerful weapon there, his mind, as he was able to get Sasuke and Sakura working alongside him by taking on Sasuke as a rival and by telling Sakura how beautiful she looked. Kakashi arrived as he spoke to Naruto later that day after their introduction, telling him that it wasn't nice to manipulate people just because he was smarter than them. Naruto was able to quickly surmise that he did something like this in his youth to his friends, and he was speaking from experience. Kakashi was unable to believe what and how quickly Naruto got onto that. He knew that Naruto was smart, but this was taking the cake more than he expected. When the day finally came, Naruto did not engage. He did not make a move, not one bit. He simply used his head, getting Sakura and Sasuke to work alongside him. As he went to find the both of them, Team 7 officially became Team 7 there. After some time has passed, they decided to head out towards a more strenuous mission. It was easy to subdue the Demon Brothers, who were working with none other than Zabuza Momochi. Despite that, they still headed off. Coming across Zabuza, Kakashi got captured, but Naruto was more than smart and strong enough to make sure that it wasn't a problem. Freeing Kakashi, the battle started up once again as they got to Tazuna's home. Upon being there, Naruto was testing a theory, using a positive reprimand for the people around him, especially young boy Inari, as he saw how easy it was to control people when they believed that you're trying to help them and nothing more. All of this was just an experiment for him. Naruto did not truly care about these people because they did not serve a purpose other than his experiments, which would be coming to an end very soon. When the big day finally came, Naruto was the one that had stayed behind. As the rest of Team 7 made their way, Sasuke Uchiha was going up against the missing Nin Haku, while Sakura was on the outside. As for Naruto, he waited to see what Iniru would do. Seeing the boy put his life in danger, Naruto did not save him out of sympathy or a desire to do so. He simply realized that his test was a success. In doing so, Naruto descended down and eliminated the threat, giving Iniru a positive reinforcement. The boy was more than happy to do as Naruto say. Headed towards the bridge as Naruto came across the ice user. Being his first Kikigenkai user, Naruto was ecstatic. He ended up throwing Sasuke out, who shouted at him that he was doing something idiotic, but the next moment, the entire thing shattered. Confusion marred Sasuke's face as the Hunter Nin was gone, without the Hunter Nin risking his life to save Zabuza. What happened was Zabuza got a Chidori through the chest, and he died. When Gato and his men finally came on the bridge to put an end to this, Naruto used space-time Fuinjutsu and shocked Kakashi as he eliminated all of the threat. The man was shocked that Naruto was able to master this at the age that he currently was, because this shouldn't be possible, but yet, there it was, plain and simple. It truly shocked and surprised him. As the group stayed until the bridge was completed. The bridge was named after Naruto because of all that he did, as he was the main driving point behind the people regaining their hope by him making Iniru regain his hope, which showed the others that they need to fight back, which they did. Returning back to the village despite the mission being ramped up, Team 7 was able to complete said mission successfully. During that time, Naruto questioned Kakashi about his Sharingan after seeing how exhausted he was after the battle. Kakashi did not think much of it. After all, he wasn't a Uchiha, he didn't possess the body of a Uchiha, nor the blood. Team 7 was given a weekend off. However, when Sakura left that morning, her parents expected her to return in the night, but she did not. So they went to search and they could not find her at her usual spots. They immediately reported this to the Hokage, who went to find Kakashi, and then Sasuke, the last person the Hokage was called. When they realized that not a single soul was in the building, not to mention the entire building had a hidden section that they couldn't quite understood. Harrison had no idea where the other tenants were, as no one was in the apartment. He was confused, but when he made his way down, he came across a lab. Flashbacks of the past coming across his former student raced through his mind. There Naruto was with his two teammates and senseis on a table. They were unconscious. He was experimenting on them. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the playlist of yourselves to begin this new episode. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood within the apartment. The moment that he had stepped inside, flashes of the past returned to his mind. How could he have been such a fool? He had immediately sent the envoys to get the others to the hospital as quickly as possible. Naruto did not put up a fuss. Not that he could, with the Hokage and all these envoys here. That is what Hiruzen believed. He immediately had Naruto arrested. The child did not even say anything about what he did, because he was caught red-handed after all. Hiruzen massaged his temple, clearing out all the noise around him. However, he was interrupted by an envoy arriving back. Sir, we checked all of the apartment buildings. Every single one of them are empty. All the furnitures and stuff that were there from past clients have been moved. There was no way that a large enough construction like this could have gone under his nose. The fact that every single person within this apartment complex was now gone. The fact that Naruto was the only one living here. Hiruzen feared the worst, that Naruto had gotten rid of all of the people. However, the envoy was not finished, as he told the man that is not all. Moments later, Hiruzen arrived to one of the apartments to see strange things on the wall. Large paper parchments with all sorts of drawing and things on them. Majority of it Hiruzen could not understand as he stepped towards the boxes in the room. Almost every single building had boxes inside of it. Naruto was using it as a storeroom. All of them. Hiruzen opened one of them as he was confused. Pulling out there was nothing but books. Books on astronomy and all sorts of complex, difficult subjects. However, when he was called to go to the other apartment, he found scrolls. Scrolls that were depicted with all sorts of jutsus from other nations. Most of these stuff were illegal to get by Konoha ninjas because majority of them were stolen. How did Naruto get his hands on these? The next apartment that he went to, he found strange machines. He couldn't believe that all of this has been going on and he had absolutely no idea. However, the strange part was, inside of Naruto's bedroom, that door that led to the underground section that he found Team 7 in. Where the hell was that? It literally made no sense. Hiruzen had checked. There was no space, absolutely none. The building did not go underground, therefore where the hell was that located? It hit Hiruzen hard as he remembered what Kakashi had said. Not to mention Naruto confirming his theory. Naruto was able to tamper with space and time upon using it to defeat Gato and his men. Had the child somehow been able to break a section of space to link a different section of space to his bedroom? That has to be the explanation here, because there was no space for that dark, deep, colossal, underground, Hiruzen didn't even want to say it, scientific lab down there, the hole. So it has to be. He wanted to hit something to let out his frustration. However, he has years of practice on how to keep himself calm. But he knew that this one was mainly on him. The doctor, the specialist, had told him that people like Naruto would get bored easily and try to push the boundary off what seemed to be right to what was beyond inhuman. And he allowed things to slide because he accepted Naruto's word. Having been there the boy's entire childhood, he thought that the boy would not lie to him when he asked him the serious questions. Even then, as he just found him, Naruto did not put up a fuss. In fact, he looked like he was happy to what he has done, which led Hiruzen to believe that perhaps things have gone much worse than he originally thought, as he released a heavy sigh, not knowing what half of these things were, what kind of machine they were going to use for. However, whatever it was, he couldn't allow it to happen. Time skip. When Hiruzen arrived towards the hospital, Sakura parents were there. Unfortunately, they weren't allowing them to see their daughter at the moment. Hiruzen feared the worst, that things were more bad than he originally thought. As her mother was on the verge of breaking down, her father standing strong to make sure. They wanted answers. However, Hiruzen stepped inside first to get what the doctors had to say. The room was pretty large as the three of them were in the room. Separate beds, of course. Yamamoto was here as he looked towards Hiruzen, having been one of the few to warn him that Naruto might become unstable. Yamamoto was a specialist in chakra-related areas. Hiruzen wondered why he was called here. I take it the boy was behind this, Yamamoto said. Hiruzen gave him a look. That was all that he needed. How bad is it? Are they going to pull through? You know, in his own way, he was doing this for them. What? What are you talking about? Hiruzen said. Yamamoto stepped towards the girl. Her medical issue is not a problem. Her body is 100% alright. There is no last-longing effect of anything that he did to her. In fact, he didn't seem to have harmed her in any way. Or perhaps his knowledge on the human body has grown so much that he was able to cancel out any side effect of the procedure that he underwent on all three of them. What procedure? Hiruzen said. Yamamoto placed a hand on Sakura's hand. It was ice cold. Harrison could feel it the closer his hand got. However, on the monitor he saw that her heart was beating, but barely. I thought you said that it wasn't bad. Yes, it does look bad, but it's not. When our body hit a certain temperature, reducing in a certain environment that could theoretically slow down our heartbeat and preserve us in a way. At the moment, our entire body is slowing down, but not in a way to harm her, but in an everlasting change. Somehow, this boy has isolated the genes of the clan that was once a part of Kiri. I have great knowledge about them, their unique technique of merging wind and water into ice. The boy has isolated the genetic DNA code of a bloodline and somehow engrave it into this girl. The possibilities of that are supposed to be impossible. Taking someone's eye, for example Sharingan or Byakugan, is possible and has been seen by many over the years. However, what he has done here is something that is beyond any knowledge that I have at my disposal or any of the doctors have here. They've done their tests and her health is perfectly fine. However, her body has slowed down because it is going through a stage of extreme cold right now, perfectly fitting her sense of hibernation. And what does this mean for her? Hiruzen said. He made her stronger, and her chakra reserves made no sense to me. That is why I asked on the formal report on her original testing in the past. He said holding up a file. This right here, the standard limitation chakra of a normal genin. Hers being a bit smaller, her background being both civilian that is. But now, he has somehow been able to expand her chakra reserves without causing any rush or side effect. He has opened up her coils and they have frozen over, using the very coal inside of her as a substance to strengthen and empower her. Harrison looked at the girl's face as he saw, as the dead center of her hair was white, a sign of the changes that has taken place inside of her. Another thing he said, as he picked up a scalpel, walking over, Harrison gave the man a look, but he gave him a look back that said, "Trust me," as he performed a slight little nick on Sakura's hand. However, the moment her blood started to react like it was about to leak out, the area froze over, almost like crystals gathering on her skin, her blood being isolated back into her body. The possibilities of this is not possible. The mere fact that her blood could be cold and frozen, and that she's still amongst the living. Majority of this doesn't make any sense to me. Not even the Yuki member's body would perform anywhere this advanced. Somehow the boy has isolated and strengthened this bloodline. It is the only thing that made sense. I have no idea how he got his hand on a Yuki member though. Harrison's eyes widened. They recently came back from a mission where I was told that Naruto killed the last Yuki member that was found. I suppose that was a lie. It seems like he was somehow able to take that member and hide them. However, there is no one down there. Last time I checked. Is there anything else, he asks? With this girl, no. But we won't know everything until she wakes up. However, her health is in perfect condition, but her body is going through a stage of evolution. The mere fact that the boy was able to pull something like this off should be theoretically impossible, but he did everything perfect. And this procedure was not done recently, not in minutes or hours, given the time that you found him. I would say about 15 hours ago. That meant he knew and he was already done with what he was doing. He wanted me to catch him. Hiruzen said, perhaps to show you that he meant no harm. While I'm not approving by anything that he's done, the mere fact that he could do something like this is truly mind-boggling. What about the others? Hiruzen asked. They stepped towards Kakashi next, as Yamamoto lifted up his headband and opened his eye. Hiruzen was surprised. He removed the Sharingan. Hiruzen questioned, originally, that is what I thought. However, after a thorough scanning, I found something truly abnormal. Somehow, all the nerve endings are now perfectly linked together. The eye was not removed. It was deactivated. But he cannot. Yes, all of us know that he shouldn't be able to deactivate said eye, because despite possessing the Sharingan, he's not a Uchiha. However, after testing the blood that currently courses through his veins, the samples are a geological match for young Sasuke over there. You're telling me that Naruto injected Kakashi with Sasuke's blood? It is more controversial than that. Even if he had injected him with it, it shouldn't have been able to pull off something like this. Say for example, Kakashi was operating at a 25% Uchiha. Right now, he's operating at around 80% as a fully Uchiha. And that's because whatever he has done has not fully developed. The moment he wakes up, we will have answers. But the Sharingan, there will be more versatility and more usage without the extra strain or precautions of low chakra reserves. The boy has done truly an ingenious piece of work here, as much as his actions are seen as harmful because of the kidnapping. This is beyond anything that anyone within the Elemental Nation has reached as of yet. We will know more once he's awake. And finally, Sasuke Uchiha. For the life of me, I cannot find a single thing different about him. Hiruzen looked towards the man. You said that he recently awakened his Sharingan, but I can't find anything that would show that Naruto had altered him in any way. But he too is also in the same state that these other two are in. Whatever Naruto has done to him, I'm not able to currently find it. Perhaps the change is on a different level that I cannot breach at the moment. And I doubt anyone would for at least a couple years. Hiruzen looked down towards the three of them, as he thought that Naruto has done something harmful, but it was actually the opposite. Then again, he did kidnap them. He needed answers as he was about to talk to the source of all of this. Allow the parents to enter. I will speak to them first. No information about this will be given out until we fully understand what is going on here. Understood? The man nodded. With that, Hiruzen made his way to speak to the parents. Time skip. As Naruto was currently locked away in one of the many prisons, a confined space only known by a select few, the Anvus in particular and a few of the higher-ups. It was the Anvu jail. It was rather secretive, just as secretive as the Anvu training facility and a few other departments that the populace had no idea about. Naruto had willingly allowed them to bring him here. He put up not a fuss, he did not make a noise, he simply accepted his fate. And now here he was. They restrained his arms with cuffs. Special cuffs that were imbued with sealing art. Naruto find it rather amusing that they believed that sealing could hold him. After all he's shown. But he had to give them that. Although, he could modify them to make them a lot better, but that wasn't his concern at the moment. He should be arriving around now. The moment Naruto said that, The door started to open as Hiruzen stepped inside, showing once again that Naruto's mind, his understanding of everything was far above a normal human comprehension. As he looked at Hiruzen, calm as ever, Hiruzen looked down towards him as Naruto was seated on the bed that was in there. It wasn't supposed to be comfy or anything. This was one of the better cells out of the others. Some of them were meant for torturing as well, but not this one. As Naruto sit there looking up at him, I presume that Yamamoto informed you that all of my tinkering are for the positive. Hiruzen gazed narrow. Now you're questioning to yourself how I know that. For a moment there, Hiruzen thought that Naruto could read his mind. No, I can't read your mind, said Naruto. However, I have already estimated the outcome of what would happen. Given the severity and the lack of information that the people currently have at their disposal at the hospital, I knew that they would call in a specialist. And who better than the only one in this village that has a chance of figuring it out? Perhaps not quite on my level when it comes to things like these, but he's better than most, Naruto said. And I know what you have to say, that my actions were unlawful, this and that. However, I can assure you that they were all for the positive. Team 7 will be better than ever. I have eliminated all of their weakness, and the future for each and every one of them will be greater than they can ever imagine. And that's a promise, Naruto said. Hiruzen stepped inside even more, approaching before coming to a stop. I warned you, he said. And you told me that you wouldn't do anything like this. I told you I wouldn't do anything bad, said Naruto. Stop misunderstanding my words and stop seeing me as your student. I am not Orochimaru. It is not my goal or desire to cause any harm, because if I wanted to, I would have done so already. My actions were for the betterment of my comrades, to ensure that they don't die out there on the missions. What? Hiruzen said. It was my first time facing off against certain death when Zabuza Momochi tried to slice our heads off. If Kakashi had not responded in time, both Sakura and Sasuke would be dead right now. They are not ready for the outside world, because there's too much people out there that possess greater strength than them, that could end them within seconds. There was many opportunity that they would have been killed in this recent mission. Zabuza, Haku, the Demon Brothers. However, now, that won't be much of a problem anymore. You say that your actions are nothing to be threatened by, but tell me, what has happened to all of the people in the apartment? And where did you get the money to buy all those stuff? Or perhaps you stole them, Hiruzen said. The information that was in those scrolls. You're not supposed to have them. First of all, I didn't kill anyone. Naruto started to list out address after address. What are these, Hiruzen said. The location of where every single member end up. I bought them out, said Naruto. I pay them a hefty sum to keep their mouth shut while they move in secret. Especially the owner. You bought them out, Hiruzen said. Looking over his shoulder to the envoy that was there, he gave them the signal to go ahead and check. Where would you get the money to do something like that? I suppose I would have to confess one of my crimes. Since becoming a genin, well, a little bit before that, I've been leaving the village on a extended period. What? Yes, I've left the village on multiple occasions, leaving behind a replica of myself to take my place. I have been to casinos all over the elemental nation, one after another, understanding the philosophy and the mechanics of the games were rather easy. At the end of my pursuit, I can say, I came back with a sum that was able to finish all that I've desired to set in play, such as buy the apartment for myself. Yes, everything is within my name. I simply paid a large enough sum for everything to be kept quiet. If you haven't noticed yet, money made this world go around, and I figured that I would need enough to ensure that no one would get involved until I was finished. Besides, I'm sure that you know by now that I allowed you to know where I was. If I had simply shut the door from the inside, you wouldn't have found me. Speaking of that, how in the world was that place able to exist there? You must have think of it already, said Naruto. Fuinjutsu. Space-time ninjutsu. Naruto saw the look that he had. Well, at least you're catching on fast, Naruto said. It was simple. That space does not exist there. It's my own little diversion away from diversion. Naruto raised his hand and snapped his finger. A door appeared beside them, surprising Hiruzen. Hiruzen was confused. In reality, it was his chakra the moment he snapped his finger. It tied into the technique that he was currently using to summon the door. However, he simply made it fancy with a snap because he did not need to snap, just needed to release his chakra in a certain pattern. Hiruzen looked at him and the bonds as Naruto looked down, before taking off the cuffs off his hand and placing them on the bed. Come on now. Did you really believe that those would be able to hold me? Naruto said, opening the door. Looking inside. Pretty nifty, isn't it? Said Naruto. A place to clear my mind and perform my procedures. If you like, I can open my books, allowing you and your people to check thoroughly to make sure that my actions were non-lawful. To show you that I meant no harm by anything Naruto said. Snapping his finger once again and the door vanished away as he proceeded to sit down. What about the Yuki member? Hiruzen said. Unfortunately, he's dead, said Naruto. The look that Hiruzen gave him. That seemed to upset you knowing that I've claimed another life, said Naruto. But it should not. He was an enemy. His desire was to kill my team. And I thought that was the whole thing with Konoha. Helping your teammate. The will of fire, this and that. However, his bloodline was able to help me in remarkable ways. And now, my team is stronger for it. Even now as I prove to you that I'm not a threat, you still don't trust me, said Naruto. And you won't allow me to do anything regarding helping anyone else. But I'm quite okay with that. Even though my help would be for the betterment of this village by fixing certain lacking securities like the civilians, the barrier. But you won't allow me because you still don't trust me. But I suppose, within time, I can build trust once again. For you to see that I'm not the enemy, but I'm the future to make Konoha better. Because times are changing. And if we're going to keep our position as number one strongest, we need to be as strong as possible for the future. After all, we have lost a lot over the past couple of years. From the Nine-Tail attack to the Uchiha attack, you can see that our village military strength has dropped significantly. Facing the attack from all over will be quite devastating for us next time we fight them. But I suppose you would be able to trust me before that, said Naruto as he simply leaned back. Hiruzen was bested because there was nothing that he could do to prove that Naruto did anything wrong. And when the Anvus arrived and brought the owner of the building here, who revealed everything along with the others who were moved out and was now living better because Naruto had paid them to keep their mouths shut. Naruto's actions were actually done so to help. However, Team 7 had yet to wake up, as Naruto promised him that they were fine. He had already done the procedure long before he had arrived. He questioned Naruto about Sasuke, but all Naruto said was he made him better. Far, far better. But they should be awakening anytime soon now. Hiruzen had made his way back to the hospital, leaving Naruto there. He did not authorize any of them to subdue him, knowing that the phone jutsu that they currently had at their disposal was not strong enough. The only way to do so was to physically restrain him, and Naruto was not a threat. He wasn't posing a threat, as he was willingly staying there. Kakashi was the first to awake. As the man opened his eyes, the both of them, Kakashi looked around, feeling okay. Hiruzen entered the room, as he was notified immediately. What happened? The copy ninja said, confused. That is what I was about to ask you. Do you have any recollection of what happened to you and your team? Kakashi tried to recall then. He remembered. Naruto had invited them. He asked to speak with him, but when he arrived, Sasuke and Sakura was also there as well. And then he remembered. Naruto offered them something to drink. Kakashi had turned it down, not wanting anything. Simply want to know why Naruto invited them over. After all, they've gotten 3 days off. However, the next moment he started to feel woozy, and then he woke up here. Hiruzen informed him on everything. When Kakashi finally got up, Hiruzen gave him something to look into his reflection. He was surprised, as he couldn't believe it. He originally thought that Naruto had removed the eye as well, despite what Hiruzen had said as he sat there. The copy ninja also realized that his scar was not there either. Just what in the world did Naruto do? He tried as he sent chakra to his eyes. He watched and waited patiently. He was shocked. Hiruzen too, as Kakashi's eye changed. The three told him Sharingan awakening inside of his eye. Now Hiruzen was believing all that was said. Despite all the proof had been there, seeing it was more than enough as he looked at Kakashi. He asked him how he felt. Despite what Naruto has done, Kakashi had to say, he felt amazing. There was this rush, this great unbelievable rush of energy that seemed to be coursing through him. For a moment there he thought he would have burned out in seconds, but he felt stronger, better, beyond his wildest imagination. As he looked at himself, he got to his feet despite being off it for so long. He felt completely better and healthy, as his mind kicked into play as he asked about the other two. Hiruzen told him that they haven't woke up yet, but given the track record and everyone confirming that they would wake up in due time, he believed that they would be fine as well. He then asked, what about Naruto? Hiruzen released a heavy breath, as he was not sure what to do about Naruto and this situation. He would just have to wait and see. It did not take long after for Sakura to wake up, as they explained to her what happened. However, they could see that her change was much more outwards. She took a breath, you could see the cold sensation coming from her mouth. Soon after, Sasuke came too. However, unlike the other two, Sasuke didn't feel any different. He did not feel any changes, which led him to believe that he was simply used to make sure that Kakashi was able to turn off his Sharingan, and that angered him. Sakura did not seem to be angry though. If anything, she seemed to be a bit confused, but also a bit excited, as she felt power. She's never been the powerful one. She's never been the special one. Perhaps in her grade, but nothing more than that. And not to mention, she confessed something to Naruto not too long ago. Naruto was a kind, sweet person that liked her, and he was always doing his best to make sure that she knew that. As she told him, the last few days had lined up way that she wanted to feel useful. All they were doing were protecting her, and she couldn't do the same. It made her feel like she was holding the team back. He told her that she was wrong, but despite his words, she never thought that she would be able to fight on par with either of them. As Sasuke kept by himself, he was angry. For the next few days, they were tested to make sure there was no side effect of whatever Naruto did, but so far they were perfectly healthy and fine. They wanted to speak to the one that did this to them. Naruto has been situated inside of the Anvu cells. Of course, he was fed and allowed to shower and change his clothing, as they were merely holding him as a safe holding for now, as he was no longer seemingly under arrest. They wanted to know what was going on though. Sakura's parents were a bit worried, but upon speaking to their daughter for the past few days, hearing how amazing she felt, how stronger she felt, knowing that she would be able to properly protect herself out there, because they were always worried. She was the only one that was not really, while they would never say it, special. She came from a civilian background, unlike the other two that were special in their great ways, but their daughter was special to them. But now, Naruto has made sure that she would be able to properly defend herself, even though she had yet to truly utilize anything so far, as they felt it was best that they waited, as Naruto was the one that suggests they met on the training ground. Hiruzen Sarutobi was there, as two Anvus arrived, carrying Naruto by the Sunshin, as the remainder of Team 7 was there as well. For the most part, all of this was kept on the down low. There was only a select few that knew about this that were there to witness it, and Sakura's parents as well. Given the beneficial status that the boy has done to help their child, they weren't going to make a protest about it, and Sakura felt like Naruto was trying to help her in his own way. He was just a bit, well, fast in doing things. "I see you're all doing well," he said, making his way towards them. "I suppose I'm free to go now," said Naruto, "given that you've ensured that they were perfectly healthy in these past few days." "Not yet," Hiruzen said. "You're going to go over every single detail of what you have done to them, to ensure they know everything." "I suppose I knew this was coming." "Alright, fine," said Naruto. "I suppose I should say I am sorry first for not taking your consideration in action. However, I suppose it is my strange detachment to not having anyone in my life, and the first few friends and teammates I've made, I want to ensure that they're as strong as they possibly can be to weather any storm that we have to face." Both Hiruzen and Kakashi wonder if Naruto was simply manipulating them, praying against the fact that he was an orphan and that he was alone majority of his life. Yes, Hiruzen was there, but Naruto went home to an empty house. Most of the times Hiruzen was working, so you had to think about that. However, Naruto has never shown that before, but there could be a part of him that actually felt it, so they weren't so sure about his feelings on the matter. In the battle, you were exhausted just after a few minutes of fighting Zabuzawa Mochi, so I took essence from Sasuke and his genetical makeup to ensure that the Sharingan will no longer be a hindrance to you. What would have been impossible to done by any other except for myself, I have turned you into a Uchiha, with the only one Sharingan, but yes, an Uchiha nonetheless. Therefore, the evolution that comes with the Uchiha eyes and body will now be gifted to you, without the problem that they also come with. Kakashi questioned about the strenuous use and his chakra depletion. He was shocked when Naruto told him that all of the problematic areas was wiped out. He was trying to wrap his head around exactly what Naruto did. Naruto turned towards Sakura. "I isolated the Yuki ninja genes and I modified them, making them far, far, far stronger. And I implanted them inside of you, allowing your body to adapt and evolve, surpassing the normal limitations of what a Yuki would possess. All you need now is proper control and training. However, I have scrolls that contain a lot of information about the Yuki and the clan. But I suppose in the coming future you would be able to surpass any limitation that they once had with their ice manipulation. He stepped towards her. I suppose. Your words that land of wave about not feeling useful on the team hit me deeper than I wanted to admit. I told you that. You were a valuable member of this team. And there is nothing for you to doubt yourself about anymore. This isn't what I really meant, she said. But she looked down towards her hands. You've helped me. She couldn't really stay mad at him. Naruto made her stronger. Not to mention, over the short amount of time they have become close, good friends and comrades. She figured that she couldn't be mad about this, especially that he did this to help her, to make her stronger. Naruto stopped talking, turned into Hiruzen, causing Sasuke to lose his cool. Hey, he finally said, having enough. What the hell did you do to me, he said, believing that Naruto just used him. Naruto chuckled, finding it rather amusing. I was wondering when you were going to snap, said Naruto. A part of you doesn't wish to be helped by me because we're on the same team, but you also felt left out. I suppose I simply amused myself by not bringing up anything that revolved around you, said Naruto. However, I'm sure you notice when you activate your Sharingan. Notice what? Sasuke said. You see, the Sharingan's a very powerful tool. At its best, it can give you the ability to wipe out an entire nation single-handedly. After all, I read a lot about it from that stone tablet. Sasuke gaze narrowed. That's impossible. You can't, he said. He knew what Naruto was talking about. However, you needed the highest level of the Sharingan in order to read said tablet. Hiruzen turned towards Naruto. How do you know about that, he said. Hiruzen of course knew about the tablet, but it was useless to all of them. It was some time after the Uchiha massacre. It was a tablet that the Uchihas had cherished over the past couple of years. You do know I love to do my research, said Naruto. I needed to understand the inner workings of the Sharingan before I did anything. Otherwise, I could have accidentally killed you. However, there are certain limitations that are based on your eyes. Certain emotional triggers, certain traumatic events that would limit you to be the best you can be. But I have removed them, making you vastly stronger in the process as well. I'm sure you can feel it, or perhaps you were so caught up in believing that there was nothing there you haven't noticed. Look at me, said Naruto. No, not with those eyes. Sasuke activated Sharingan. It had two totem in both. As he looked at Naruto, he felt different. He had done this before, but now that he was focusing, now that he was relaxed, it was the mental fortitude and understanding of what was truly going on. What did you do? As I said, I remove all the limitations that your eyes would have, allowing them to fully evolve into what they can truly become. However, the rest is up to you, said Naruto. But once the process begins, there will be nothing that will stop you from raising your powers to unbelievable levels. Itachi's words ran into his mind. He remembered what he told him to do. To kill someone that he come to see as a friend. To take someone's life in order to make sure he evolved beyond what he was. To take the next step, to beat him. You're talking about the Mangekyou Sharingan, Sasuke said. If Naruto somehow read the stone tablet, that meant he knew about it. Naruto stepped towards him and whispered. Even beyond that level, he said. Sasuke was more confused. There wasn't a level beyond the Mangekyou. What the hell was Naruto talking about? And how was he able to remove any emotional triggers that would be needed to awaken those eyes? Naruto was talking like all he would need to do was train, and he will become stronger. And Naruto confirmed his words, leaving Sasuke baffled and having a hard time understanding. Despite all that Naruto has done so far, it was hard to understand everything that he was now saying. However, Hiruzen had brought Naruto back, and Naruto had showed him everything, all the scrolls and everything. Hiruzen had no right to take them away from Naruto, but the mere fact that Naruto got these under some black market schemes showed that Naruto has been up to a lot. And Hiruzen told him that his activities would be trickling down, doing things that would get him in trouble or this village, or things that would end up taking his life. As for the machines, the way that Naruto was talking about certain things, despite his vast knowledge about many things, Hiruzen was having a hard time keeping up. As Naruto was saying some things that Hiruzen didn't even believe existed in this world, and yet he wanted to create them. When Hiruzen asked for a demonstration of what he was talking about, Naruto got something. A strange blue orb, about the size of a ball. A small ball in his hand. However, inside of it was a strange liquid. On closer inspection, though it wasn't liquid, it was energy. How in the world was Naruto able to isolate chakra? When Hiruzen said that though, Naruto said it wasn't chakra. What do you mean it's not chakra? Hiruzen said. As Naruto tossed it upwards and brought a hand up and released the activation release seal. The mechanic parts that Hiruzen saw, they all pulled together with the orb holding as a core. They formed a humanoid cyborg right there. The next moment the thing started to use the energy and it turned into a perfect copy of Naruto. This is how I've been getting in and out, said Naruto. He's been staying here. Your objective, sir. The voice was perfect. Just a demonstration, said Naruto, as he deactivated. You created a robot, Hiruzen said. Oh, it's far more advanced and powerful than just a mere robot, said Naruto. Hiruzen stood there baffled, to not realize just how far Naruto had truly gone. Perhaps Yamamoto and the others were right that he had tested Naruto. Putting Naruto on as a genin was a simple waste of time. However, when Naruto said that he was still a genin, he did it once again, acting like he was reading someone's mind, but he was not. He was simply smart enough to think 5 steps ahead. He wanted to be with Team 7. His team. Besides, the Chunin exams was coming up in a couple of months. He wanted the world to see what he was capable of as well, and to ace the exams. Hiruzen went over everything that night. The more he went over, the more his mind was blown. Despite him still not fully trusting Naruto, he realized that allowing Naruto to take up a part within Konoha defenses will ensure that Konoha was safe. It would be forever and everlastingly safe. There was absolutely no question in that manner. Yes, there was none at all. Time skip. Given all of the positive that Naruto did, and the fact that Sasuke and Sakura, not even Kakashi, had a problem. Well, Kakashi was very stern on Naruto never doing something without their permission ever again, which Naruto promised that he would not. There was no reason to put up any charges against him for what he did. At the moment, Sakura overdid it, as she was learning how to properly manipulate the new power that Naruto had blessed her with when she plunged her hand into the ground and circulated her chakra outwards. It manipulated just like how she wanted. Her control was a lot better and she used a bit more than necessary. Kakashi was on the sideline, so was Sasuke. This was unlike anything Haku had ever done. Massive ice spikes raced towards Naruto, who had told her to do her best after giving her the scroll to look over for the past week and helping her where he could. In just 1 week, she was able to pull off something like this. It was shocking. Kakashi immediately moved to help Naruto. Sakura herself looked panicked, as this wasn't what she expected, as she still couldn't believe just how much powerful she had become. Sasuke too was shocked, never expecting this, as the giant spikes, each of them as tall as a one-story building, raced towards Naruto. Kakashi realized something despite Naruto Fuinjutsu and his surprising boost of strength when he fought Zabuza. They hadn't really taken into account just how strong Naruto was. Could he defend against something like that? But before the copy ninja could reach though, Naruto held his hand out as water gathered. The water separated into the same amount of ice shards. And fire! One of the water bullets completely obliterated one of Sakura's shards that were so large. Sakura fell back, shocked, as nothing was left except for pieces of ice on the ground. Kakashi himself was shocked, as all of them has failed to take into account just how strong Naruto had actually become. How much he has done for them. How strong was he actually? Naruto walked over towards her, failing to take note of the shocked look on her face. It's impressive that you were able to pull that off in just 1 week, said Naruto. I can only imagine what you will do with the rest of the month, given that we have to face the upcoming Chunin exams. I suppose I shouldn't count you out either, said Naruto, looking over towards Sasuke. The Uchiha had that look on his face. He too was ready to face whatever they had to throw at them. Given this new change, Hiruzen felt it best for Team 7 to make sure that they were able to properly stay their ground. So for 1 month, Naruto had to help Sakura and Sasuke. Not Sasuke mostly because his thing was mostly his training. His time period to push his body to reach a different level had been cut severely. You see, with no longer any limitation on a Uchiha's body, the evolution in their eyes that would be necessary for certain awakening, certain emotional growth, it would not be needed. And the process seemed to be a lot faster. In just 1 month, Sasuke was able to awaken the 3 Totem Sharingan. And in another, Sasuke was able to perfect the Sharingan in its normal stage. However, it wasn't that. The more his eyes evolved, the stronger he became. Speed and strength-wise as well. It fathomed and shocked Hiruzen and Kakashi on a daily basis to how much Naruto has done. Perhaps it was just habit by now, but Kakashi most of the time kept his headband down, despite the fact he no longer needed to do that. He's been doing it for some time now since he was young, so it was habit. However, in just a short amount of time, Team 7 had surpassed all of the Genin teams, even majority of the Chunin teams, and that was on their own. They had yet to still find out the depths of Naruto power. Hiruzen was more involved despite not having a lot of time. He questioned Naruto on a almost weekly basis, wanting to know everything so that Naruto did not do anything stupid, as he didn't want Naruto to go down that path. But Hiruzen was ensured that everything would be fine from Naruto, but he didn't take his words for it. Naruto was being watched on several occasions, as Hiruzen did not simply let go of the fact that he kidnapped his team and experiment on them, despite not bringing up any charges for Naruto to face for what he did, because his crime did not bring any. Naruto gave Sakura 3 scrolls, The three scrolls contain everything that you would need to know about the Yuhi clan and their ability. With the ice release, Sakura now had the ability to manipulate water and wind as well. Yamamoto came to Hiruzen and told him that they could create a department where Naruto could take over once he was done with the exams, because in no time his level would be needed to be put at Jonin. The boy was stronger than a Genin, there was no doubt about that. Far stronger than a Chunin. Yamamoto would love to work with Naruto for them to break through all sorts of scientific database that most believe was impossible, and to also create a group of super soldiers. They would be the best line of defense for Konoha. The man was merely saying his ideas out loud. If Naruto could alter those that volunteer to become a part of this program. After all, in the past, a program like that was done to ensure Konoha's strength remain number one. However, because of certain people, Orochimaru, there were many bad names this was given. Speaking of that, Naruto was summoned. There was someone else in here as well. Her name was Anko Midarashi as Hiruzen told Naruto the problem. Anko was shocked when Hiruzen came to her and told her that there was a possible solution to get rid of the curse mark. Something that had tied her life to that damn wretched Sanin. The moment Naruto saw it, he understood it. Speaking of that, as Hiruzen watched as Naruto looked at the seal, a question came to mind. If Naruto had tampered with the Nine Tails, throughout all of this, Hiruzen had not taken the Nine Tails into consideration, having not asked anything. As Naruto set a date that he could remove it tomorrow. Wait, are you joking? Naruto looked at her confused. Why would I? Anko grabbed him by the shirt. Listen to me, you little punk, she said. You better not be messing with me. Hiruzen sighed, knowing that it was a sore spot for Anko about the mark, so he understood her reaction. I too would be angry if someone like that brand me, said Naruto. And you seem to have taken great offense by what I said. So you're well in your right to attack me if you desire if I fail to remove it tomorrow. She looked down towards him. The Hokage put so much trust in him, despite how dangerous he said that the seal was, and it was better to seal it away rather than tamper with it to try to remove it. Fine, she said. However, you better not end up killing me, or I'm gonna make you pay. As she walked out, despite seeming like she was angry, she was happy. Very, very so on the inside. Huh, I like her, said Naruto. Her attitude seemed fun to me. Naruto, Hiruzen said. I've yet to ask you about something and I want you to be straight with me. When have I haven't, said Naruto. Hiruzen gave him a look. You know, I never actually lied to you, said Naruto simply. Twist the truth or go around the truth. So, what do you want to know? Where's the Nine Tails? You asked that question like you expect a response of me saying that I don't have it, or I've done something with it. Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief, glad that Naruto hasn't tempered with something like that, knowing how dangerous that could be. You know, I can be a bit too cocky for my own good. After all, I no longer have the beast with me. Hiruzen paused his sigh as he looked up towards Naruto. Everyone within the village turned their head as they could swear that they heard the Hokage shout, "What?" But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.